where please welcome Dr. Jill Biden.
Sometimes the most powerful place in America isn't the White House or the halls of Congress. It's where you are right now, your home. Because that's often where revolutions happen, where you first hear and begin to listen to that voice inside, where the quiet confessions to parents and siblings take place, where you face rejection or acceptance. Home, no matter what that means, is where we find the incredible courage it takes to live authentically. So while we can't be together in person, I want to thank you for having me in your home this evening. Thank you for trusting me with your stories and for living your truth. The stakes of this election couldn't be higher. We can't go back and refight the battles we've already won. But more than that, the LGBTQ community deserves a president who values their lives and will do everything in his power to build a future free of bigotry and discrimination. And that's Joe Biden. Still, the true power to make change doesn't start with him. It starts with you, with ordinary Americans who have the extraordinary courage to tell their stories, live out loud, and show up when it counts. And that's why we're here today, to connect with each other, to share stories of challenge and victory, and to envision the infinite possibilities of the future we can make together. And of course, have some fun. So thank you again for joining us. And I want you to know that whether you're worried about stopping this administration or frustrated by your children's education or afraid of losing your health care or simply longing for a president you can trust, you have a home in this campaign. Joe and I are so grateful for your support, and together we are going to do incredible things. So let's get started. I want to introduce my co-host and the newest member of our team, our new LGBTQ vote director, Reggie Greer. Reggie,
hi, Dr. Biden.
Joe and I are so proud of you and so grateful for your voice and leadership. Hey, Reggie.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
I'm so excited to be here, and it gave me a great excuse to get dressed up.
Well, you know what? Now that we're home all the time, we all need an excuse to get dressed up. Even you're just in the basement like I am. But I even more, look, my favorite shoes.
Oh, I love it.
So it's been a long time for those high heels.
I love it. I love it. They look great.
Okay, so let's kick this off. I want everyone to get to know you a bit. You've been an organizer for many years now, working at the DNC, the Obama-Biden administration, and most recently, you were at the LGBTQ Victory Institute. And I know a lot of that work has been in training and mentoring new LGBTQ voices. Now, that's going to be a big part of beating Donald Trump, engaging the next generation and empowering LGBTQ leaders who are ready to step up.
Thank you so much for saying that. The one thing we learned over the past decade is that when LGBTQ people organize, we're powerful, we're effective, and we're drawing the inspiration from LGBTQ caretakers and workers right now who are keeping our community safe and getting us through this crisis. So we're ready for the next fight.
Okay, so beyond your resume, who are you?
Well, Dr. B, I am the poster child of someone that doesn't fit in a box. I grew up with a birth defect called hemifacial microsoma. I had 18 surgeries within my first 16 years of life. And being Black, questioning my sexuality, and having a disability, I learned very early that everyone has to own and celebrate their own narrative. And yet I had a lot of people around me, mentors and teachers, and wonderful people from Wichita Falls, Texas, and Fort Worth, Texas, and Washington, D.C., who made me feel like I didn't have to be defined by one thing, including members of my church family, teachers again, and my parents. Hi, Mom and Dad. That gave me the courage to tell my story. And if I might add, Dr. B, my mom is a registered nurse. And while she's been a hero to me my whole life, we're all starting to see how medical professionals, and nurses included, are sacrificing so much to keep us safe and to keep us well. So I just wanted to, again, thank everyone out there who's keeping our country going during this time. And, you know, I didn't have a normal childhood, and I had to find my own path and find my own voice early. And I realized along the way that there really is no normal. We're all just really hoping to find a place in society. And that's why we're all here today.
You know, it's incredible how much of a difference it can make when you have someone to support you, whether it's a parent or an educator or a mentor. And I see that in my students too. You know, having that strong foundation helps you find your voice.
Yeah, you know, I think I would certainly describe it that way too. And that's why I really wanted to be a part of this campaign. I really had to learn to be proud of who I was and to own my own story and own my own narrative. And what we've seen these past 4 years is so troubling because so many people like me are fighting throughout this country just to have a place in our society. But we have an administration, and this isn't lost on anybody right now, that is attacking and intentionally attacking people, marginalized people, and LGBTQ people. They do it in big ways, like banning transgender people from serving in the military, but they also do it in subtle ways too. They give people the power to say it's okay for service providers to not serve LGBTQ people, and that's wrong. And like you said, we can't go back and fight the battles that we won. We have to finish the fights that we started. And I worked too hard. So many people I know have worked too hard. The LGBTQ people throughout this country and all Americans really have worked too hard for us to stop now. And it is more than just beating Donald Trump, though. We're here for Joe Biden, and we're here because there is a shared vision of the future that we all belong to. He spent his whole life fighting for civil rights. So many people around our country are still fighting some of those same battles, and when we come together, we can bring each other into that shared vision.
Well, what you said about finding your voice struck me. You know, I've talked a lot about having a platform that I didn't really look for. You know, being second lady of this country was an honor and a privilege, but it wasn't as natural a fit for me at first. You know, sometimes when you aren't looking for it, just living your life, you have to take a stand because it's the right thing to do. And I think that unites a lot of us here today.
Yep, that's absolutely true to me. And I know it's so true for all the people who are joining us today for our very first LGBTQ social hour. So if it's okay with you, Dr. B, let's bring them into the conversation. Well, I'm so thrilled to welcome our very first guest all the way from Columbus, Ohio. I'm thrilled to welcome Joel, Craig, and their daughter, Izzy. Hi, Izzy.
Say hi.
Welcome to Social Hour.
Say hi.
Hi, Izzy.
She's a little distracted.
Yeah, we're bribing her with fruit snacks so she'll sit still. So,
well, tell us a little bit about why this election matters to you and why you support Vice President Biden.
Yeah. So for Joel and I, our adoption story, our family story, it really started when one of the first things we shared with each other early on was that growing up gay, our biggest fear was that because we were gay, we wouldn't someday be able to start a family or have kids of our own. And so a lot of the progress, because of a lot of the progress we achieved, especially during the Obama-Biden administration, and because of marriage equality and all of the same-sex families who paved the way for us, that perception quickly changed. And so, the Supreme Court ruling came down for marriage equality in 2015. Joe and I were married shortly after. And not too long after that, we started planning our journey to become parents. And we were really lucky. We had two friends, Jim and Derek, who live here in Columbus, who are gay dads, and they guided us through the adoption journey, which is a long process full of lots of paperwork, stress, and anxiety. And they actually linked us up with the agency here in Columbus that we picked, the Choice Network, which is led and founded by an incredible person here in Columbus called Molly Ramp, who's really passionate about supporting LGBTQ families. And so she worked with HRC to become one of the leading LGBTQ adoption agencies. So we were very fortunate to have her, and we had such a great experience through the adoption process.
Yeah, and I think one of the things for us that was really important about the process was having an open adoption. So, Izzy has met her birth mother, Greer, and have a great relationship with our birth family. And, we feel really blessed that we've had this opportunity to start a family. And, having those protections in place made the world of difference in allaying our fears of being parents, and having to go through that process, knowing that we would be treated fairly and equally is really important to us. So.
Yeah. So we were linked up with our birth mother, Charlotte, in early 2017, and we were linked up when she was 14 weeks pregnant. We went through the entire journey with her, really developed a close relationship with her and her family, and they've been with us as members of our family ever since. So we've just had such an incredible experience. We were in the delivery room. We held Charlotte's hand when Izzy was born. And we can't put in words how much she's changed our lives for the better. So as you can see, she's very precocious, assertive, and independent. She's 2.5 now. Her hobbies are dinosaurs, watching Frozen 2 50 times a week. She kind of goes back and forth on Elsa or Anna. She can't really pick which one she loves most. And she loves dance parties as well. So we've just had such an extraordinary journey. And we know a lot of that is because of the Obama-Biden administration and all of the progress we achieved with LGBTQ equality. And there's so much at stake in this election. And we know that we need to keep moving forward in the fight for equality, and a Biden administration will do that. So thank you for letting us be here to share our story.
Oh, thank you. It is a beautiful story. So, hey, Izzy. Let's see if she'll wave.
Her mouth is full of fruit snacks.
What I've learned over the years is that really there are so many ways to build a family. And, no one way is better than the other. Mm-hmm. What binds us together is love, plain and simple.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Craig and Joel, Izzy is so fortunate to have daddies that love her as much as you guys clearly do. Thank you. Really, that's all that matters.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joel and Craig. And Izzy, thank you.
Say bye, Gigi.
Bye, Gigi.
She calls Reggie Gigi.
I love that. LGBTQ people are caretakers, they're advocates, they're change makers, often quietly changing our society for the better. Our next guest has already done so much in Florida, and I would like to bring him into the conversation. So welcome Brandon Wolf, whose story has inspired so many, including me. Tell us your story, Brandon, and tell us why this election is so important to you.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you, Reggie. Thank you, Dr. Biden. I will echo that this is a great excuse to wear a jacket. I don't get those very often anymore. So we're 2 for 2, Reggie, on the jackets.
I love it.
And to be honest with you, I still have to pinch myself a little bit to really understand that moments like this are real. Moments like, these panels like these with incredible advocates, like all of the folks that you're going to feature today. And I have to pinch myself because sometimes it's hard to remember that this is real. When I think back to 4 years ago, if you'd asked me what I would be doing today, this is absolutely not what I would have told you. In fact, every day until June 12, 2016 was ordinary for me. I think you could call June 11th, that sometimes we call it in our community, the last normal day, and everything about it was truly ordinary. I remember it was a Saturday. It was laundry day. And also my best friends, Drew and Juan, had taken the day to go have an adorable date at SeaWorld without me. So of course I was jealously liking all of their cute pictures on Facebook. And as the day wound to a close, we did exactly what we would ordinarily do. And that is that we decided to go for a drink, just us. And to be honest with you, the decision to go to Pulse nightclub was basically the flip of a coin. We called our ride share and just picked the club that was closest. I distinctly remember that the line was as ordinarily long as it always is. The drinks were as ordinarily strong as they always were. And I remember that Drew, who had a master's degree in clinical psychology, did what he ordinarily did. And that is when he would have a few drinks, he would give you a free therapy session. And that night's free therapy session was on love. And I remember he draped his arm around me and he said, you know what I wish the world did a little bit more was say, I love you. I remember a lot of things about that night. I remember stepping into the bathroom about 2 o'clock in the morning. I remember the cold water running in the sink. I remember distinctly the sound of gunshots for the first time. I remember locking arms with about a dozen people I'd never met and running for an exit I didn't know existed. I remember the feeling of relief when I got to call my parents for the first time there on the sidewalk. And I remember the very first feeling of heartbreak when I learned that a man filled to the brim with hatred and armed with a weapon of war had fired 13 rounds into my best friends and killed them both. There was a lot of pain after Pulse, but I also remember the first time that I felt hope again. And that was Thursday of that week. It was the same day as Juan's funeral. But that morning, President Barack Obama and Vice President Biden met with us in Orlando. They did it at the Amway Arena. There were no cameras. There was no media. It was just us. And of course, they conveyed that same strength and perseverance. They conveyed the grief that we were all feeling, but they also conveyed a sense of humanity at the time. It was really clear to me that they weren't there for just a photo opportunity or to pat themselves on the back like someone we all know at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue right now. They were there to cry with us and help us put the pieces back together. And I distinctly remember grabbing Vice President Biden's arms and looking him into the eyes and understanding that he wasn't even there really as Vice President Biden, he was there as Joe. He was there as a man who knew great tragedy. He was there as a man who knew what it meant to lose someone you love very much. A few days later, I was at Drew's funeral and I was pushing the casket down the aisle one last time, holding on, just wishing it was a nightmare that I could wake up from. And as I let go of the casket, I made a silent promise to myself, thinking about that day, looking into Joe's eyes. And I made a promise that I would never stop fighting for a world that Drew and Juan would be proud to live in. And for me, that's what's at stake in November, a country that all of us can be proud of, a country that treats LGBTQ people with dignity and respect, a country that gives women autonomy and power over their own bodies, a country where we lift each other up instead of standing on each other's backs to get to the next step. And I think that future starts block by block. I think it starts neighborhood by neighborhood. I think it starts right here in Florida, starts by us standing together to reject hate and divisiveness and elect Joe Biden, the next president of the United States.
Thank you, Brandon. You know, I visited the Pulse Memorial in March, and every face tells the story of just how precious life is and how quickly it can be lost. Joe stood up to the NRA twice and won. And with you at his side, Brandon, he can do it again. You know, there's no reason we can't pass common sense gun laws.
Brandon, if you could give us one piece of advice for how we rally people around our cause, this collective cause, what would it be?
You know, I told you there are a lot of memories from Pulse. There are a lot of painful ones. There are a lot of not so painful ones. But one of the most powerful memories I have, and one that endures today, is what Orlando became after Pulse, what the LGBTQ community became after Pulse. I remember when the rainbows went up on every street corner. I remember distinctly the people hugging each other in line at the grocery store. I remember very clearly when Orlando's Strong became our community's motto. And that persists today. So the piece of advice that I have, not just for the LGBTQ community, but for people across this country, is to lean into each other. It's not about the person who occupies the White House. It's not about the people who make laws in Washington, D.C. It's about every single one of us believing in a country that treats every single person with dignity and respect. It's about every single one of us believing in a country that believes that our diversity, the things that make us different, are actually what makes us stronger. It's about all of us collectively gathering together, locking our arms, rallying with each other to fight for a country that is truly great, a country that lifts each other up, not puts each other down. We are most unified. We are strongest when we stand next to each other and get that work done. I mentioned it's neighborhood by neighborhood, it's block by block. I truly believe that it's not just one person shouting down from the mountaintop, but it's every single one of us in every single one of our neighborhoods demanding the country that we can be proud of. And I think we can get that done.
Thank you so much, Brandon.
Thanks, Reggie. Thank you, Dr. Biden.
You're welcome. Marsha Azumi is our next guest. She's an author and an activist, and she gives voice to the mix of emotions so many parents of LGBTQ kids live: love, fear, shame, pride, acceptance. But what makes Marsha special is that she lived her truth so publicly so that others might find community and peace. Marsha, you've had a lot of roles, but I bet, like me, the title you love most is probably mom. So would you tell us about Aiden?
Thank you so much, Dr. Biden, for highlighting LGBTQ stories. I'm kind of emotional just listening to Brandon. So I hope I can get through this without crying too much. But, our story started 15 years ago when Aiden came out as lesbian. And then he came out 5 years later as transgender. And basically, I wish I would have celebrated him coming out. But as a mother, I was filled with so much shame and sadness and fear. I wasn't ashamed of him. I was ashamed of me as a mother that hadn't stood by him, that he went through so much alone and in silence. And I was sad because I know this world can be very cruel to people that are different. So I was sad for the kind of world that he would have. But most of all, I was afraid. I was afraid that the world wouldn't be safe for him. And I was afraid that he could not live his life authentically and find happiness and love. But there were organizations around the country that supported LGBTQ individuals. PFLAG is one of them. I'm on their national board. And, organizations like this helped me have hope. And then there were visible voices and people like you and Vice President Biden that I'm so grateful for, because you gave me hope. You were speaking up and you were supporting as well. And so for me, the most difficult days in the beginning, when my son was withdrawing from me, when he was encountering physical assaults and violence, and when he had thoughts of suicide, those were where I clung to hope so much. Trans kids and trans individuals, they need people to fight for them. They need people who will say, we see you, we hear you, and you matter to us. And Vice President Biden is one of those people that's saying that. He's sending those kinds of messages. For me in the beginning, I was really a scared mother. I didn't know where to go and what to do. But somehow with support resources and people like you and the Vice President, I've been able to find my voice. Aiden and I wrote a book, Two Spirits, One Heart, and it helped us to heal from all the broken pieces. And I think like your family, we have faced adversity. We've come through stronger, and we've come through with leaving the negative parts, and we've come through with love. We've come through with gratitude, and we've come through with hope. And I am so glad I personally can thank you for putting that hope in my heart all those years back and today.
Thanks. Thank you.
As I mentioned earlier, my relationship with my parents made a huge difference in my life too. And that's true for so many kids around the country. And so many people have chosen family where they're able to get that support and that love. The advocacy of anyone that takes care of a child can change hearts and minds anywhere. Before we move on, just what are your hopes for Aiden as he continues along his journey?
I think the thing that I appreciate so much is Vice President Biden's his LGBTQ plus advancement plan. When I read about his support of the Equality Act, I think my son can go to different states because he'll feel more protected. When I see the support for youth, for bullying and harassment in school, I think about Aiden and how he was bullied and harassed, and he felt like he was losing hope. And that's when thoughts of suicide came up. I think many of our youth that lose hope, those are thoughts that come to them as well. And finally, he is trying to reinstate and restore some of the protections that we have lost over the last few years. And I think what that says to our community is you are valued and we're going to make this world safer for you. When I hear Vice President Biden speak, I just know that he has a kind heart. He's compassionate, he cares about people, and he's wise and has a vision for how this country can be. For Aiden, I don't want him to be judged because he's transgender. I want him to be judged for the person he is, for the contributions he can make, and for people just to see he's got an amazing heart. So thank you so much, Reggie and Dr. Biden, for letting me, as a parent, share our story.
I think you have an amazing heart.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
At Victory Institute, I saw so many incredible LGBTQ students, moms, activists, parents, advocates, everyone stand up and say enough is enough. Deciding to run for office to advance equality in city halls, in state legislatures, and even at the federal level to make change. I'm so happy to introduce our next guest, one of those trailblazers, who proves that when you have a seat at the table, progress can become reality. In 2017, Virginia Delegate Danica Roem became the first trans person to be elected and seated in a state legislature, and we couldn't be more proud. So I would love to welcome Danica, and Danica, tell us what you've been up to in Richmond, and tell us a little bit about your amazing journey.
Sure. So, Reggie, it's so wonderful to see you again. Dr. Biden, it's wonderful to see you again as well. And to everyone out there, well, welcome to my home here in the 13th District of the Virginia House of Delegates. And so my quick story here is I'm a lifelong resident here in Manassas in Prince William County, about an hour southwest of DC. And I was the lead reporter of the Gainesville and Prince William Times, covering this area for more than 9 years, from 2006 to 2015, as a newspaper reporter. And I reported a few other places as well. And after 10.5 years of journalism, one day I got a phone call and asked to run for office in it was August 5th, 2016 when the phone call came in. So it was still during the 2016 campaign. And we have elections here in odd years. And I was asked to take on, someone who was about to be a 26-year incumbent. 13 times and was the self-described chief homophobe of Virginia. And as a trans woman who had covered politics, covered everything around here, I knew that what the people of the 13th district needed from their delegate was someone who would welcome them because of who they are, not despite it, and who would focus on those core quality of life issues. In this case, it's fixed around 28. It was blocking above ground transmission lines between Gainesville and Haymarket. It was expanding Medicaid to 400,000 uninsured people, including more than 3,700 right here in the 13th district. And it was about welcoming the amazing diversity that we actually have here. And so when I kicked off my campaign as the first out trans candidate that we've had in Virginia, I knew I was an underdog, but because I had gone through the Victory Institute's campaign training, I had a pretty good idea of what I was getting myself into. And we hit so many doors, we made so many phone calls, we did everything we had to do. And not only did we win, but we got to demonstrate our values in Richmond. And this year, now that we have a Democratic majority in our General Assembly with a Democratic governor for the first time since 1993, well, we're getting done. We passed the Virginia Values Act, and we passed another bill that adds sexual orientation, gender identity to about 70 different sections of code for non-discrimination. And so what Vice President Biden's talking about in terms of getting the Equality Act done in his first 100 days in office as president, what that means is that nationwide, people will see exactly what we've done here in Virginia, which is protecting people because of who they are, not despite it. And that means non-discrimination in terms of housing, in terms of public accommodations, in terms of credit, in terms of employment. And we just saw this weekend that the Trump administration is once again trying to hack away at protections for trans people in healthcare, for example, and on insurance non-discrimination. And so this year we actually passed my bill, HB 1429, that says that you cannot discriminate against trans people in healthcare here in Virginia under any Virginia group plan. And so what I think we need to get done here is, as legislators and as elected officials, our job is to serve our constituents. It is not to single out and stigmatize the very people we're elected to serve in the first place. Our job is to make sure that every person here, no matter what they look like, where they come from, how they worship if they do, or who they love, can be welcomed, celebrated, respected, and protected because of who they are, not despite it, not for what other people tell them they're supposed to be. And if you're watching this right now and your legislator or someone in your community who's elected to serve you doesn't hold your values, just think to yourself for a minute. This is your America too. And it's time for you to run.
Thanks, Danica. You know, it's so great to see you again. Joe was so excited when you won. And I wish we had captured your phone call on our side as well. You know, you make it look so easy, Danica, that we almost, forget how much work goes into what you do. And one of the big fights we're still fighting is for the Equality Act. And that's one of Joe's number one priorities. You know, he's promised to get this passed, and he's a man of his word. So Delegate Roem, Danica, can you tell us what that would mean to Virginia?
Absolutely. Well, first, what it would immediately mean to Virginia is that the leadership that we've shown here in the Commonwealth is what we would then be putting on display at the national level for people to see that, yes, even here in the South, that we will protect you because of who you are. And at the same time, we will also show that compassionate leadership. We will show people that at a time where we just heard about another 2 trans women who were brutally murdered in Puerto Rico, and we've heard about trans women of color, if you live an hour and a half north of me and you have a darker skin tone than I do, your life expectancy is 34. And I just turned 35 last September. And it sends a message of leadership, and it sends a message about who we value, what we value. Just like when in Virginia we ratified the Equal Rights Amendment this year, we voted for ratification. It's a statement of affirmation about the fact that we welcome people because of who they are. And one of the things I would just tell you is that when the vice president called me in 2017 to congratulate me on winning, it wasn't the first time him and I had spoken. I first met Vice President Biden when he was standing next to his son's casket in Dover, Delaware. And I had driven over there to thank him for raising his son with the character of Bo. Because when Bo was fighting for a trans-inclusive non-discrimination bill in Delaware, he was fighting for people like me all across the country. And when I met Vice President there, I said, I just wanted to thank you for raising someone like Bo, because of exactly what I was just telling you. And at that point, the Vice President gave me a hug. He looked me in the eye and he says, "We mean that. We mean that." And he lifted my right hand, he kissed back my hand, and brought me in for a hug. And when you look at what we have now in Washington, D.C., we don't have the Vice President of the United States telling a trans woman that her rights are worth protecting. We have a Vice President of the United States who was one of the lead opponents to our civil rights. And at this point, when when we've seen not just the trans military ban, that's just the start. The fact that they're attacking our healthcare, the fact that there's so much that's being done to dismantle trust in our systems of government that a lot of LGBTQ people have to rely on in the first place because it keeps us safe. What this means is that those of us in the community, it's our time to step up. It's our time to run. It's our time to lead. And that when we have inclusive leaders at the top of the ticket, then they will help lift all those votes everywhere, all across the country, in every down ballot race you can think of. And I know what it's like to be scared. I know what it's like to not know whether every single time I was going to hit a door, if that was going to be my last. But I went out there and I did it anyway. And when I did it, and on November 7th, 2017, when the vice president called me to say congratulations, all I could do at that point was just tell my supporters, Joe Biden just called, we won. And they just cheered so loudly, and I just fell to the ground and just kind of sobbed. And it's not every day that the former vice president is calling a trans woman to tell her that congratulations, you won. It's not every day that that the vice president is calling, like people like my friend Sarah McBride, who's running for state senate out in Delaware, is writing a foreword for her book and being such a big supporter for her in her race now. And you have to just remember that representation is power, and our ability to get elected, to earn election, is our ability to show people across the country that LGBTQ elected officials are really good at constituent service, because we know what it's like to be singled out and stigmatized. We know what it's like to be forgotten, and we know how to turn it around, and we know how to provide that inclusive constituent service focused leadership that people need so much. And I know that Vice President Biden, when he becomes president, is going to remember that whether you are at Soil and Water Conservation District or whether you are President of the United States, everything comes back to constituent service, which is exactly what we've done here in the 13th District, and is exactly what we have to get done across the country right now.
Thank you so much, Danica. Thank you so much for your work and all you do for our community. And thank you to everyone for your contributions and your stories today. Also, just want to thank everyone for joining us. I feel inspired. I'm ready to get to work. And I don't know about you, Dr. B. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I'm ready to continue working. This has been a powerful conversation, but now I'd like to lighten it up a bit. So there was a point over the campaign when I was in Iowa, and we were driving from one stop to another. And so you're thinking, oh yeah, 10 minutes here, 20 minutes there. No, we were in Iowa. It was like 2 hours between stops. And there were a lot of those. So we were traveling all day long. And I was in the car, and there were several of us. And I looked around, and with all the staff helping out, and I realized that 4 of them were gay men. So I looked at the woman who was driving, and I said, oh my gosh, we had the best time. I got a crash course in gay pop culture last summer, I must say. And in that vein, I'd like to do a quick lightning round of questions to everyone. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay.
I'm so ready.
All right. So each person, okay. So Reggie, all right. Go ahead. You go. Oh, okay. Okay. So Reggie, this is yours. Okay. You ready? First up. Okay. RuPaul Drag Race season 5 or 6?
Season 6, because I like Bianca Del Rio.
Okay, whoever that is. All right, Marcia, Golden Girls, Blanche or Sophia?
Oh, I think you might be muted.
Oh.
Okay, I said Sophia because I think she's fierce and she speaks her mind.
I know, I love her. I love her. Okay, Izzy, you ready for yours, kiddo? All right, Lady Gaga, Shallow, From a Star is Born, or Stupid Love, her newest song?
Which one do you like?
Would you like Stupid Love or Shallow? You like Gaga? She likes Stupid Love. We play that one on repeat.
Okay. All right. Brandon, Beyonce, Destiny's Child or Lemonade?
Okay, great question. First of all, Reggie, you're absolutely incorrect. It is season 5. That's the only answer, and it's because Roxy Andrews is the hometown queen. So let's be real on that.
That's right. Season 5 was really good.
It was really good. And the answer, of course, is Destiny's Child. We love a classic.
Okay. Danica, Schitt's Creek, David or Patrick?
I have no unearthly idea because I'm horrible at pop culture. I would just tell you, like, I represent the LGBTQ heavy metal community. And so if you're going to ask us questions, it's more like Judas Priest Painkiller or Focus by Cynic. Take your pick. Like, that's where we come through. Because we have some amazing LGBTQ metal artists, by the way. Clearly.
Okay. Okay. And finally, for all of you at home, Poe's favorite house, Evangelista or House of Abundance?
There's only one correct answer, so don't get it wrong.
Yes, absolutely. Well, so thank you so much for that, Dr. Biden. That was fun. I appreciate that. And thank you again for everyone for being a part of our very first LGBTQ plus social hour. We hope to do this again. I love to let everyone know that Joe Biden's plan to advance LGBTQ plus equality can be found at joebiden.com/LGBTQ. Please go check it out when you have a moment. And we would like for you to share your own story. As I said before, and as we have learned today, everyone has their own narrative and everyone has their story. So tweet out your story or share your story on social media using the hashtag #OutForBiden, hashtag #OutForBiden, OUTFOR Biden. And thank you so much.
Well, thank you for co-hosting with me, Reggie. And I want everyone to know that this is just the beginning. And I can't wait to read your Out for Biden posts and to stay in touch. And now, before we close, I'd like to introduce the person who led our LGBTQ work at the Biden Foundation. When we decided to start the Biden Foundation, we knew that our LGBTQ rights pillar needed a strong and thoughtful steward. And we couldn't think of anyone better than Emily Hecht McGowan. Emily, it's great to see you again, and I hope you and Sharon and your girls are doing well. Emily?
Thank you so much, Dr. Biden. It's an honor to be here. It was an honor to serve as the director for the LGBTQ pillar at the foundation. There was no place I'd rather be than working for my community at the foundation named for you and the vice president. It just showcased your commitment to our community, your commitment to the youth of our community, and to raising up stories and voices and creating visibility was just incredible. And it was an honor to do so. So thank you again for all that you do.
Thank you.
And now it is my great pleasure. I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to introduce Grammy, Emmy, and Tony Award-winning artist and longtime LGBTQ advocate, Ms. Cyndi Lauper.
Yay.
How are you? Am I on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hey. I just want to say thank you. And I know when you were using that platform to help civil rights for all Americans, not just some. That's what I like to say. But I am also a friend and family member of the community. And hi, David.
I want to get a better angle of you. You're sideways.
Oh, I'm sideways. Oh my goodness. Okay, so my camera is not doing great. Okay, so I have to change my camera. Sorry, this is all technical stuff now. All right, how's that?
There you go.
There you go.
Great. Yeah.
I put it in, but it won't go. It won't go
Just put it
that
that
way.
way. Let me see if I can straighten it.
Okay.
Okay,
I
they
put
said
it.
it's good. It's good.
Oh,
Looks
look,
good?
there she is. Yep. She looks good
Okay.
too.
That's it.
Okay, is that better? Oh, hey, look at that.
Is
All
that
right.
better?
All right, but now you're over my head. So can
Is
you
that
let
good?
go?
It's going to go that way.
Yeah, that's good.
Is that good?
Okay. Am I good?
Great.
You're perfect.
Okay. It's all a technical thing.
Well, she
Thank you
didn't
so
do that.
much.
I did that.
No, David did it.
Come on, Corey. Come on. Come on. All right.
All right. Thank you, David.
Knock 'em dead, sweetie. Love you.
All right. So, yeah, it's, that's what happens. I forgot how long we're married, but a long time. He has to come in, straighten out the camera. Anyway, I just want to say thank you. I am supporting the Biden campaign because I feel that he will support the community. He will support people of color. He will change this disproportionate distribution of help that is not going to everyone in the communities in New York City. There's some, it's the same old, but I mean, yeah, we have a good governor and he's trying, but it is, I know that Joe is committed to equality for everybody. So that's my thing. Anyway, I'm gonna sing for you. You're frozen. Are you frozen? No, you're not frozen, are you? Oh, no, he is. Am I frozen? Am I still on?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's my spiel. That's it. And thank you. And I wanted to, this is all I can play for you. Can you see? It's no, not really. Not really. Well, I can always just tilt it down a little. Well, I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to play dulcimer and I'm going to just sing for you a little mashup thing that I wrote for Kinky Boots and True Colors. So. When I was just a kid, everything I did was to be like him. Under my skin, I'm not my father's son. I'm not the image of what he dreamed of, with the strength of Sparta and the patience of Job. They're starting to bang. Can you hear that? Every night at 7 o'clock, the neighborhood bangs.
Oh, that's great.
Can you hear them?
Yes, I can hear them.
Yeah, my husband's banging inside. Usually we bang around this time too. Anyway,
great.
So with that in the background, I think I'll just you with the sad eyes. Don't be discouraged or realize it's hard to take courage in a world full of people. You can lose sight of it all in darkness inside you, make it feel so small. But see your true colors shine. See your true colors, and that's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show you true colors. Your true colors are beautiful. like a rainbow. Show me a smile, and don't be unhappy. Remember when I last saw you laughing. If this world makes you crazy and you're taking all you can bear, you call me up because you know I'll be there. And I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors, and that's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show you true colors, true colors. Beautiful like a rainbow. This world makes you crazy, and you taking all you can bear. You call me up because you know I'll be there, and I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors, and that's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show you true colors, the true colors, the true colors keep shining through. I see your true colors, and that's why I love you. So don't be afraid. Let them show your true colors, your true colors are beautiful. Like a rainbow.
Wow.
With the with the banging too. That kind of made it nice. So anyway, I wish you good luck, and I will do everything I can to support you guys. I am curious, what grade do you teach?
I teach community college.
See, because I knew you were a doctor, so I didn't think it was going to be grade school, but still. I think grade school is fun to teach, but yeah.
I love teaching community college, and I want to thank you for your support and thank you for your beautiful song and your beautiful words, and we love you, so thank you.
Thank you.
We'd like to extend a special thank you to all of our guests today: Craig and Joel Diaz, Brandon Wolf, Marcia Azumi, Danica Roem, Emily Hecht McGowan, and Cyndi Lauper. And a special thanks to all of you for watching. Please visit www.joebiden.com to get involved with the campaign.